Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else, I bring us together to talk about a film that traumatized at least 2 generations. A horror film that has vilified both the logging and transportation industry. Fuck yeah, because we're watching Final Destination 2. Actually, I already watched it, so here's the review. So we pick up on the 1-year anniversary of Flight 180, which knowing that makes this whole timeline fucking wild. There's a very unenthusiastic main character named Kimberly. She's on her way to Daytona spring break with her friends, and she has this premonition while she's on the on-ramp that there's going to be a massive piling up due to a log truck. Which, as I said in my previous video, once you see the actual premonition, I don't even feel like it's death fucking with things. It's everybody making piss poor decisions. Somebody's drinking beer, somebody's talking on the phone and smoking a cigarette, a motorcycle's driving like in between lanes. The fucking cop has a coffee cup full of hot coffee and no lid. You see where this is going. So she stops at the very end of the on-ramp to keep people from like getting onto the freeway and dying behind this log truck. I mean, she couldn't save everybody who was already on the freeway, so like 18 people died. But she could stop the people on the on-ramp. However, she parked the SUV so close to the actual freeway itself, the SUV was taken out by another 18-wheeler, and her friends died. And apparently the cop car's dash cam caught it when the cop pulled her out of the way in time because she lived. And they showed it on the news later, that same day. And then her dad went to turn off the news so she didn't have to see her friends die again that just happened earlier that day. And she's like, "No, Dad, it's okay." Well, damn, you got over that fast. Well, later that same day, one of the guys that was going to die in the crash went to his house and was using a dirty-ass pan to fry some mozzarella sticks. And then he put some leftovers into the microwave, and the microwave exploded. And then his dirty-ass pan mozzarella sticks caught on fire. And he got out on the fire escape until he slipped on some spaghetti he threw out the window, and then got impaled by the fire escape ladder. Which, again, I don't even feel like that was death itself intervening, because had the fire not got him, fucking listeria and or fried rice syndrome he would have gotten from the fucking old spaghetti pan that he reused would have got his ass. And then a teenager gets squashed to death by a plate glass window because he decided to chase pigeons out of a construction zone. Which is partially his own fault because he shouldn't have been fucking around in a construction zone, but also they should have had like the construction zone taped off so people couldn't fucking walk through it. Which, like, I get it's an active building, but OSHA. The importance of OSHA. And then his mom gets decapitated by a faulty elevator, which is the building manager's fault because he had been made aware by another occupant in the building. But also, again, OSHA violations. And then unenthusiastic Kimberly here went to go see Clear, Clear from the first one, who voluntarily committed herself after the main guy from the first one died from a brick going through his face. And unenthusiastic Kimberly here, gets all pissed off at Clear for not helping. But obviously Clear doesn't know how to completely defeat it, considering that she couldn't stop it the first time even when they thought they stopped it. But she's gonna try anyway, so they go see Tony Todd, and Tony Todd's like, well, new life would disrupt that shit. And come to find out, part of that on-ramp was a pregnant lady, so they think once she gives birth, it'll just, disrupt the whole chain of events, so, death will stop coming after them, immediately. But for some odd reason, they feel like tracking her down, I don't know why you need to track her down. As long as she has said baby, it's gonna work. But anyways, everybody who's left piles up in this damn car so they can go harass a pregnant lady. And come to find out, everybody was in kind of sort of connections with everybody who died that was, left over from Flight 180. One lady was on the bus that hit Terry. One guy was supposed to be in the theater in Paris that hit Carter. This guy over here was a teacher that was replaced by Val. So everybody's in, some way, shape, or form connection. Well, on the way to harass this pregnant woman, they get into a car accident outside of a farm. And this guy, I guess he got impaled by something. And the lady over here who looks like Rory Gilmore, well, she got pinned under a log. And so when the fire department showed up to cut her out, they didn't take into effect that there was this piece of impaled pipe through the back headrest. So when they added the jaws of life, the airbag went off, hit her in the face, and shoved her head through that pipe. So she died. And her corpse dropped her cigarette, which landed on some leaked gasoline, which sent some razor fencing or whatever directly through this man, so he looked like a loaf of bread and just fell apart. Well, everybody who was left was racing to the hospital to make sure the pregnant lady gave birth. And Clear went to check on this guy who was on life support, who nearly got killed, because this is the one time actual death kind of intervened. It was rolling his intubation away, which being awake and on intubation is fucking wild, but whatever. But there was an electrical spark in the outlet, and his pure oxygen that was leaking in the room caused an explosion fire thing, and it killed Clear and this. Although the hospital seemed to be working as needed, even though there was a huge explosion. I mean, they were still using the nearby door to bring in patients from the ambulance bay, if you want to call it a bay. They were still pushing a crash cart through the explosion site. Legitimately, this place would give Seattle Grace a fucking run for its money. But anyway, come to find out, unenthusiastic Kimberly has perfect memory and can remember her premonition, and that the pregnant lady wasn't supposed to die, so that didn't stop death. And she thought if she tried to kill herself and the doctors at the hospital that was still going could bring her back, then it would reset everything. And it kind of did. She tried to drown herself by stealing the ambulance and running it into the little pond nearby. And then they brought her back. Well, cut to a few months later, they're back at the farm where, you know, Slice and Dice and Airbag Lady deceased, and the farmer apparently invited them over for a barbecue where the grill exploded, and then their son exploded with the grill and his arm landed in his mother's plate. The end. Now, did I like it? Well, like everybody else, I greatly dislike log trucks. But also, I have a lifelong fear of turning on and off the propane on the grill. But my point in explaining all of these deaths is to say most of this was actual human error, and there should be a shit ton of lawsuits. Wrongful death lawsuits on the building manager, on whatever fucking construction company was working. I don't know where the fuck that dentist got his license, but it's not dental school. The fucking fire department that failed to assess the situation and cut out the fucking pointy piece of pipe behind the lady's head before taking into the car with the jaws of life. I'm sorry, it wasn't even the jaws of life, it was a fucking rotary saw. But also, I have a question. Is it just me, or did half of this cast look like knockoff Gilmore Girls? You had Lady back here who I said looked like Rory Gilmore around probably the beginning of the 4th season when she cut her hair. And then the guy who won the lottery looked a lot like Logan. Unenthusiastic Kimberly here could possibly be Lorelai. It goes on, it just looks a lot like Gilmore Girls, I can't. But anyways, let me explain to you about this timeline, because like I said, it's fucking wild. So from Flight 180 to the day of the car crash is exactly 1 year. We know in the first one, from the plane crash to the memorial service was 39 days, which is roughly 1.5 months, roughly. And then you figure when the events actually start popping off, I'm going to give it about 2 weeks so that we can round it out. So 2 months after the crash, giving us 10 months. And 6 months after when they thought they won, they were in Paris when Carter gets hit by the sign, meaning 4 months. So then in part 2, when they're looking at premonitions, it says that the main guy was in his house 3 months before getting hit in the face and killed with a brick. So there's the other 3 months, meaning that there was only 1 month in between him dying and the car crash. All of this to say everything was fucking back to back to back to back to back. But all of this to say, this is why safety protocols are in place. This is why OSHA is important. This is why building codes exist. And most importantly, this is why we pay attention to the road while driving. Because how the hell are you going to miss flying logs if you are texting and driving? I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 for being a brutal ass safety video. Also, please wash your pots and pans. 8 out of 10. Okay, bye. Is it bad I used to make my brother turn the grill on for me?